thoughts, ma'am, on what has just happened. Not the most detailed exercise, but your perception of what has just taken place.
Well, I think to start with, the kudos has to go to the finance minister for the fiscal prudence, fiscal discipline that has been stated up front. A commitment of a fiscal deficit at 5.1, which is below the 5.3 which was originally committed, that too in an election year, was frankly a bit of a surprise. Increased capex, I must admit many of us feared that capex may have been frozen with a view to giving money into subsidies and more public type programs, but instead we see that the continued success in capex spending and an allocation that is 11.1% up is indeed what is promised. To my mind, this is really a very responsible budget, a very confident government that believes and understands that revenues and growth continue, and they have sufficient funds, therefore, to continue with the good programs, even while they step up capital expenditure and promise fiscal prudence.
Okay. Have we moved ahead, ma'am, from the incremental logics? Are you seeing a momentum in people you're interacting with, in enterprises that you're involved with? Are they feeling a buzz? Or is the fact that when we say India's time has come or Viksit Bharat, is that a bit overblown?
So if you're asking about industry, I think for a lot of the sector, I don't have to tell you the tech, IT sectors, of course, really do benefit from where India is at the moment, partly the geopolitical advantage, but also the enabling environment that we have in the country in terms of talent, skill, and the ability to engage there. So the services side for us has been a very big success story, and one which we must continue to invest in. And in fact, in this interim budget, tourism figured quite strongly. I would think maybe more domestic tourism with mention of both spiritual tourism and middle class tourism. We are seeing this in the country through huge announcements of hotels, which would be equally beneficial for foreign travel in and for domestic travel. So I think tourism is certainly something to watch out for, which is benefiting already from the momentum we have in the country.
Okay.
I would just say that there are sectors like cement, construction-related steel, housing, real estate, which are definitely benefiting from the capex, from the affordable housing schemes. So there are industries that are doing exceedingly well. There are some, particularly in the MSME sector, that are requiring attention and support. Some will benefit from the large industries that are marching ahead because they are suppliers to that.
Okay, yeah.
Some will benefit from export momentum, but we have to continue to focus on making sure that it is an even-handed buzz.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions, ma'am. I know our time is short. We've never been able to belt the cat on R&D. We've tried so hard. Now, at least the budget is putting money where the mouth is. I know the translation is, of course, on where the money gets spent. But is the statement of intent now giving us some momentum on R&D, ma'am?
So I think we need to study this further. You're absolutely right. There has been quite a call from industry, particularly industries like pharma, which India is so big on, that has looked for really tax sops for R&D, and that we cannot expect in an interim budget. So we have to see what happens later. The announcement was, I thought, much more on a fund for futuristic industries, a fund for youth, which was the promise of interest-free loans for 50 years. And whether this will be applied to R&D as well remains to be seen, but I think I understood it to be more for a startup universe.
Okay.
But either way, if it's a startup in a new technology, it needs the funding. So it's more on implementation. But we still need to look at raw R&D, which would be much more about encouraging companies and R&D foundations to do the research. And it's not clear to me that the interim budget provides a focus
my last question to you, ma'am. Are we seeing a structural change at the grassroots of our economy, which is the rural economy, where we've been unable for long period of time to provide the basics of a housing, the roti, bijli, kapda, makan. Are we seeing a structural change happening? Are we seeing some saturation or delivery that is taking place that gives us some room for positivity?
Well, I work wearing a hat for the India Sanitation Coalition, which I chair and which I founded as a not-for-profit. We work very closely with the Swachh Bharat mission program of the government. And it is a huge success story in terms of what has been achieved there in terms of provision of sanitation and water. And now increasingly plastic waste management, which is so critical in the country. Saturation, no, because the problem and this need for funds is huge. But the ability to execute on the ground to make sure that we have gone from just 40% access to toilets to now near 100% has certainly happened. But saturation will only happen when people do understand the behavior change messaging the government is also giving, why good hygiene is good for growth, why good hygiene means not defecating in the open and using the toilets that have been built, how we treat what comes out from those toilets, and now how we look after our water bodies and wastewater reuse. This is all part of a program which in fact government has embarked on, and interestingly we are working with the ministry, and I give this as an example to you of how public-private partnerships are working. The government ministry comes forward and says there is enough funds out there at the state level and the Gram Panchayat. We want corporates to come forward and work with us at the Gram Panchayat level to make sure the funds are used and used to make the model villages that commit to water, sanitation, plastic waste management and wastewater reuse. And that is the implementation that is going to be very critical to see going forward. So funds are being provided, programs are visionary.
All right. So, ma'am, so from what you're telling us and from real world experience, and our experience will be anecdotal, then there'll be statistical, you seem hopeful, you seem positive. It's something seems to be happening, which is a happy sign for a country. Appreciate your time, Naina Lal Kidwai, and for the service that you're doing. Please make a point, ma'am. Go ahead.
Just want to add the self-help group movement too. The self-help group movement too is a huge success, mentioned in the interim budget. It is no mean feat to have 83 lakh self-help groups and 9 crore women beneficiaries under what is a microfinance movement in this country.
I mean, microfinance,
this is a huge
we're getting right also.
Hygiene, livelihood, skills, success to women.
It's something we're doing well. There won't be 100% success rate, but even this scheme for Rediwalas, you're seeing now so many lakhs of them returning and taking loans again. It's a fascinating thing. Naina ji, thank you very much, ma'am, for joining us and for your time and shedding some light.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.